think we have our discussants, all our discussants in the house now, and without wasting much of our time, I guess we need to start up as soon as possible so that we don't kill your time, because these are very, very busy persons, and I understand everyone have a busy schedule as well. So it's very important that we start off immediately so that we can wrap up this as soon as possible. Officially, I want to welcome everybody to the Boardroom 104. And the Boardroom 104, we have the Variety Edition, which is has come from offshoot of last session of 103. And I want to first of all appreciate the discussant for making out this time to join us here. Before I continue, I want to thank the organizing committee who has made this session possible, because without their help, it would have been so difficult for us to get everything sorted as is possible. So I want to thank Joe Victor for assisting in this project, Korede Ladejobi, Chinonso Ategu as well. Then our key organs, Mr. Nika Akintayo and Mr. Sheriff Babatunde. I say thank you all for making it a wonderful one. And I know that we're going to make this particular session a memorable one, as we have experienced persons in the house. Okay, I want to leave the floor and hand over to Mr. Felix to take up the conversation and to the business of the day. Mr. Felix, I'm leaving the floor for you to get on. Thank you and stay tuned.
And I will be moderating this very special edition tagged the 104 Valentine edition of the Boardroom. And our topic for today is responsible marketing in OOH advertising. Let me start by welcoming everyone has found the time to tune in, here now, and for those of us who are yet to tune in. Even before I introduce an all-lady discussant. In no particular order, permit me to introduce Mrs. Iyoha Ijedi. Mrs. Iyoha works at APCON, and she's a fellow of the advertising profession. She is currently the Director of Regulation, Monitoring, and Enforcement. But between 2018 and 2020, she was acting registrar for APCON. The next on my list will be Mrs. Adenike Adebola. She currently works with Guinness, Nigeria, as the Marketing and Innovation Director. She has over 20 years experience in marketing, strategy, and business management. And she's got a mastery of consumer behaviors that has grown brands everywhere she's been. Next will be Mrs. Yetunde Adegbite. She works with the Media Fuse Denso Ages network. She's a fellow for Postoscope, Visium, and iProspect. Previously, she was the Chief Marketing Officer of Serengeti, which is a household name for the Optimum Exposure and Promo World outdoor company. She is versatile in terms of competency and a transformation leader who believes in people and consider people as a greatness assets. I would like to give credit to the Boardroom for selecting such a robust team of discussants spread across regulatory, the advertiser and an agency chain of the business of advertising to do justice to the topic before us today. But first, let's lay some ground rules. I would like all attendees to ensure that their microphone is on mute, but obviously there will be a time for questions, an open mic time for questions. And then when we're going towards the end of this event, the host will come back again and will give us a vote of thanks and bring this event to a close. At this point, without much ado, I think we can, how the Americans say it, cut to the chase, you know, and begin the conversation at hand. Like I said before, our topic is responsible marketing with a twist for OOH advertising. The first question I am most likely to ask is, what is responsible marketing? And I'd like to have perspective of this question answered by our three discussants. I don't know where to start now, but permit me, can I call out Mrs. Adenike to tell us what responsible marketing is from the position of the advertisers? How do brands relate and with responsible marketing? The floor is yours, madam.
Thank you, Felix, and good evening, everyone. Sure, we can't wait to get the weekend started. But I think maybe to kick off the conversation, I think first of all, like they always say, advertising shapes culture, doesn't it? Yeah. Whatever culture is in terms of belief systems, what is acceptable, what is not, you know, and how it evolves, is advertising is often a big part of that in terms of shaping it. I think that's why this topic of responsible marketing or advertising is so important, because the responsibility of advertisers, therefore, is critical in terms of kind of creating a society where everybody feels safe, where everybody feels comfortable, respected, in terms of simple, basic things within the context of human rights. Yeah. So I think that on a broad level, it's very important to look at responsible marketing in the context of an environment where culture is inclusive, people feel safe and respected and well represented. Well represented. So whether it is key themes of number one, targeting, who are you speaking to? And where are you speaking to them in such a way that the right message is communicated to the right audiences. In the first instance, that's one theme. Another theme in responsible marketing, if you ask me, is this idea of truthfulness. Yeah. So you shouldn't mislead people. You should say things, represent things as they are. Another theme that I would argue is covered within responsible marketing is the idea of fueling or building stereotypes. In other words, what are the social issues that exist in any society? And ensuring that you're using your brand voice or advertising responsibly, not fueling harmful stereotypes, but tackling them where you need to. In other words, tackling social issues that may be relevant for any society, whether it's tribal, whether it's gender, or whether it's about less abled people. I think the fourth element of responsible marketing for me will be the idea of activism. So leading the way, taking a position where you're using your voice in advertising to do good, yeah, and to create a better society socially for people. So, like I said, it's really down to being accountable for your actions as an advertiser, what you do, how you do it, and being an inspiration to others, yeah, and being conscious of your impact socially because of the advertising that you put out. So whether it is who you target, where you target them, and what you say, or being truthful and never misleading people, or whether you are fueling or tackling stereotypes, that address social issues that are relevant to any society, or you're taking an active position and leading the way and teaching others to be better. I think responsible marketing includes any or more of those themes that I have shared.
Thank you so much, Ms. Adenike. I mean, clearly you brought quite a bit of perspective there. I can see all of that consumer behavior thing coming through. This is Ijedi. Can we talk to you to bring some light in from the regulatory angle? Let's hear what regulation considers responsible marketing. I don't know if Mrs. Iyoha is here with us. Hello.
Hello. Are you hearing me?
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, madam, we're with you. We would like to hear your voice.
Yeah, good evening.
See you if we can. Yeah, good evening, ma.
No, I'm in the hospital environment. I don't want to put on the camera.
Oh, that'll be fine. Your voice is very clear and strong. If you and it will communicate.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll try and do my best. Yeah, like Madam Adebola rightly said, that advertising challenges shapes culture. It is very, very true. But from the regulatory side of it, we usually look out for communications that are legal. That will be very legal. It's not something you can fake. That will be decent. That will be honest, truthful, respectful, and mindful of cultural values. Very important, because in Nigeria, we don't have the same cultural values. What is operational in the South might not be accepted in the North. So you have to put in consideration all those constitutional tenets and compliance with relevant lawful enactments. If all these are done and put into place when communicating your marketing campaigns, we can consider it as being responsible marketing.
Thank you, Ma. You nailed it right there. I don't know if our audience are following and are taking note. This is a huge opportunity for a lot of us to buy into such a wealth of knowledge. Permit me to drag in Mr. Adegbite at this point. Mr. Adegbite, can you give us some OH reality to all of these very punch words that we're hearing, how culture, truthful, and all of that? Can we hear some dimension of OH in it?
Thank you, Felix. Good evening, everyone. I won't belabor what has been said, because in actual sense, Adenike was really spot on in terms of expatiating what it means to the advertiser. And interestingly, because on this panel, I represent the agency, we play a very unique role because we're supposedly the middlemen, meaning that we're the ones that are responsible for ensuring that whatever the client thinks is ethical, to the point where it is deployed in the out-of-home space, we're able to see to it to ensure that we follow the rules. Now, responsible marketing would evolve from the point of even data collection and usage. How are these data properly collected? How is it anonymized? What does it mean for the people involved? How is it being used? Now, even in terms of identifying where you should do the placements or have your audiences, where you're talking to your audiences, how are you responsible? Because in natural sense, responsible means being able to understand what is expected of you and doing the right thing. Now, responsible marketing, it means that ensuring that the consumer and the environment is properly catered for, is respected and duly catered for. Now, so if you look at the role and what it means in the out-of-home space, so it starts from the point of data collection to the point of usage to how it is properly used, basically, to the point where you talk about ethics. What does ethics mean? I mean, how do you ensure that whatever a brand is said to be their rules and their processes is being followed and implemented across board, and ensure that all stakeholders are properly managed? To the point of sustainability, I mean, we don't also, I know in this market, we mainly shy away from it, but I mean, if you look at what it is, we have a lot of billboards that are out there. The materials are being exposed. How are these being disposed afterwards? To that point, I mean, it's a 360 conversation. And indeed, that is why the role where we play is a bit dynamic, in meaning that we have to be able to ensure that from the point of ethics to sustainability, to the data, to ensuring that even the rules from the regulatory bodies are being monitored and being ensured that in terms of placements is carefully catered for.
So David, we're going to bring you back to talk a little bit, just blow it off. You know, how you dispose the outdoor material afterwards, it's a real issue for the environment. I think we had this conversation around, everybody has had the conversation around culture and all of that. You just totally buried it in speaking to location, expectation, you know, and respect, you know. So I just thank you. I want to hold you on to the next question, and it's not because, but you know what they say, reward for good work is more work. Let me ask you, yeah, are there some examples of execution, out-of-home execution, in your broad definition of all of this expectation and respect, that clearly flouts responsible marketing that you can point out? It can be real, or it could be imagined, and that will be fine. You know, so that our predominantly OH audience can begin to get a clear vision of what this is.
Thank you.
Execution, OH, that cools, yeah.
In addressing the question, I would take it from basically all the stakeholders and just put in a perspective to this. Because yeah, we've got advertisers, we've got an advertiser duly represented here, we've got the regulatory agency, we've got the media agency as well. But we also have a critical stakeholder in this entire 360 conversation, which are the media owners. Now, and that's from the point I will take it from the point of advertisers. One of the rules, the regulation is in terms of positioning of out-of-home placements. Now, the rules are very clear. They're clear as to, you know, I mean, everybody on this call will possibly know them, you know, whether they're close to religious houses, to schools, you know, to sporting centers. I recently found an advertising an alcoholic beverage being displayed on a brand close to an hospital. I mean, that in itself, it's supposedly responsible, because that is what we mean by ensuring that the placement sits with the regulations and the ethics that are supposed to be followed. Now, you also find from the point of the media owners where a structure falls. You know, I mean, it's easy for us to say that ethics regulation all sits with whether the advertisers, the regulatory bodies, the agencies. From the point of the media owners, how often do they maintain their platforms and their structures? When a structure falls and it actually kills people, or it enters someone's, I mean, someone is sitting in his bedroom and something falls through the roof, that in itself is posing danger to the environment in which they work, or in which they're earning, they're deriving a benefit. Because if you have a structure there, it means that you have to be responsible to that environment. So yes, I mean, a couple of things like that happen, and that's why this conversation is very critical, especially at this time. And we need to understand that it takes every stakeholder to play their part to be able to change the narrative.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm tempted to keep it with you, but that won't be fair. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebite. I will stretch this to Mrs. Ijedi. I don't know if she's ready for us. Yeah, so madam, you've got a very broad portfolio. You are
Hi, in network or
from beginning right to the end. Oh, I hope this improves because I need you, and I need you very clearly here.
Now,
Are things getting better? Are things getting okay? We will take you anyhow. We've got you. I hear you're in a hospital. And thanks for obliging and staying true to this commitment.
Okay. Okay, what's wrong with the network now?
So, Madam, you relation through monitoring. Okay. I can.
No.
Are things looking any better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I didn't get the last question. I didn't get the last sentence. Hey.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know. I'm going to repeat myself. Just wanted to know from your desk if there's been some level, if there's some critical issues around responsible or irresponsible marketing, as it were, in out of home that you've had to enforce, or that you have observed as you go through in monitoring, so that my people can take cue because they're all here.
Okay. Yes. So far, I'll say that one of the sectors that complies most is the out of home sector. But the challenge we have right now is with the electronic media, the LED, especially in exposing alcoholic beverages. Normally, it is time bound. We are not supposed to even expose it between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. on TV. But with the LED now, it is there. We are finding it difficult to regulate that sector. So what we are telling them is, if you have to show a commercial on LED where alcohol is being consumed or being poured in a glass or whatever, don't show it during the daytime. But it's been difficult for some of them to comply. A good number of them are complying, but for some, they are finding it difficult to comply. And so we need to sanction them, to try to sanction them to get them to compliance level. For other areas, not really had any cause of seeing irresponsible advertising on their boards, because it's something that you can easily see. So when we monitor, we draw the attention to it and they'll go and pull it down. There are specifications, things you are supposed to, where you are supposed to expose and where you are not supposed to expose. Like the last speaker said, there are some materials you are not supposed to expose near the church, near the school or mass or a mosque, or even near the market area. For such ones, when we're able to identify them, you see that we blank them or we sanction the medium. So that's what we've been doing all this while. But in terms of compliance, I think the outdoor sector, out of home advertising is complying to a reasonable level.
Thank you, madam. You just gave a pass mark to out of home sector over there. I'm sure quite a bit of our audience will take that to extend their weekend enjoyment. Yeah, but I wanted you to deal
network. Martin, what is wrong with this?
Before you oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to take it that the first remedy, which is regulation. I thought that would be the vetting of materials. Yes. So if materials go on that would expose within a certain hour, drinks being poured in a glass on LED, might it not be the fact that APCON vetting process would have overlooked it? I just wanted to be clear. Our vetting standards skewed in such a way? Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed
Does
to
it have
follow
a
their
time limit?
Yes, we do
time
for
limit?
some products.
Okay, yes.
For some products like the alcoholic beverages, like condom, there are time limits where they should not be exposed on television or heard on the radio. So, but for outdoor, you can expose without the commercial. It's the commercial aspect on LEDs that they are not complying. But for other boards, they are complying for that. But on LED, they put commercials that they are not supposed to have exposed. While submitting, we would have approved it for TV. They still go behind to expose it on LED. So that is a challenge for them.
Recording in progress. Okay, man, that sounds like a challenge for the industry.
Yes, it's a challenge for the industry.
I just want to thank you because I know that despite despite your, especially because Ms. Adenike has spoken about how culture is shaped by advertising, you know, and how also Ms. Adenike has told us about how location also can help to further exacerbate things. So I want to thank. I'll let you off for a little bit. One more time. Mr. Adenike, from the advertised point of view, yeah, can you tell us what kind of standards you put in place, you know, as or what kind of standards should be in place for an ethical and responsible brand that some of these things that Mrs. Iyoha spoke about doesn't happen, you know, and then this challenge goes on and the industry have to deal.
I think for the most
some of these
part,
issues largely as a society.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I've taken my video off to help the video. Hello, can you hear me?
Wow.
Hello.
We can actually.
Absolutely, right, madam.
I took my video off just in case so that the network can cope better.
I can hear you quite.
To a large extent, the work that APCON is doing with providing guide rails that manage the compliance in terms of targeting honesty and truthfulness, you know, not misleading people. There's quite, or legal, whether, you know, you have rights to say what you're saying, you know, all of that between APCON and NAFDAC, actually, you do have a lot of guide rules in place that ensure that advertisers stay responsible. Are you there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So we have a lot of that. I think an area where there isn't energy behind and to get into it is some of the other more soft social issues like gender portrayal or representation, or in some other instances, what other example can I give now? Things that do not support some other social issues like being more inclusive in the society. I think those kind of soft areas are maybe under policed, allow me to use that word loosely. I think that more and more as we look ahead as a community of people responsible for advertisers, whether you are in the regulatory environment or you are in advertising or in the agency, is how we start to tackle some of those other soft issues with advertising and get behind being more responsible. because I keep coming back to this point that advertising shapes culture. If we want to see a better future, if we want a society that's more inclusive, more accepting of people, their differences, what they bring to the table, we need to start by playing it back in advertising and being responsible. So we should start looking at ways of policing that more and more. Recently, Guinness Nigeria, who I work for, signed up for the On Stereotype Alliance, which is a part of the UN. And basically it is talking about making a decision not to put work out there that stereotypes, that fuels negative stereotypes in society. So I think there is a basic piece, which is tell the truth. Don't put it in the wrong places. Don't target the wrong people with with messages that are not suitable. For instance, churches or young adults. When you talk about alcohol, which is the example Mr. Ijedi gave. So those basic issues, yes, everybody needs to do that. And I think APCON and NAFDAC are doing a really great job. Some of the things that we have been doing as a body of the beer sectorial group is we've been talking about how can we lead the way and partner with APCON, for instance, with the piece you mentioned around digital advertising and making sure that from a timing point of view, we are all compliant and we're not showing advertising on digital out of home before the watershed has been put in place. We are partnering together in that regard and dealing with some of those near home kind of like more obvious issues. But we need to start at some point to find our way to some of the other more softer issues like inclusivity and diversity and portrayal, and sign up to be more responsible in that regard and not put work out there that disrespects any particular type of people in society, which is part of this whole question of responsible marketing. I hope you heard me, but yeah, I think the network is a bit shaky.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay.
Felix still on the call?
I think.
Hello.
Okay.
I totally. Mr. Adebola, I'm sure you have done justice with. All right. Network has been quite a bit. I'm sure the discussants are putting up with this situation to do their best. And also our guests, please show some level of understanding. Let me move on to Mr. Adebite very, very quickly. Our APCON person spoke a little bit about this with LED and the kind of things that we can show within a certain period of time. As from the agency point of view, the execution flow out of. How are you able to
Yeah, can you hear
Hello?
me?
Yeah,
It's a huge. Someone needs to feel that.
That's where the responsibility comes on the agency to ensure that you're able to schedule the creative that has been exposed on your out-of-home space, on your digital space, to cover all of the all parties. And this, I mean, it's clear why we don't want pouring shots show is because you also don't want underage to get, she's talked about how it shapes, you know, shapes the environment and shapes culture. You don't want the underage to begin to see it as something fascinating. And that's why we also stay away from places close to schools, places close to, you know, worship, like churches and mosques to serve as a respect, because you don't want someone praying and seeing a pouring shot. So if I understand what Mrs. Iyoha is saying, that is what we've done, is to ensure that the scheduling is right, the placement is right, and then we don't violate the rules.
Oh, and so then we say, I mean, out of home we need to send you a reward for putting up that defense. I know this is not your fight, but I needed to bring it up because what we agreed when Ms. Iyoha was talking about was that if it was a challenge for regulation, is indeed, I like the way you put in. I think we talk too much about, I mean, you said already, I think we've covered quite a bit of ground in terms of, you know, the set of questions that I have from the discussions that's come up. Maybe this might be some time to take some questions from the audience. I think we are 40 minutes into this conversation. I think we should go into open mic. I don't know, is my hosts, are we getting any feedback?
No, none for now. We can pursue. None for now.
All right. So you think we can proceed?
I think so. Unless maybe anyone wants to drop a question from the attendees.
Okay. I think that should have been going on in the last 40 minutes. If we haven't, it means that we've had a very excited attendee, and I will have very little to say at this time. I think my discussants have totally x-rayed this matter, and the only issue that seemed to have come up was the issue around the LED for the digital, and there'll be no justification to stretch this session any further from my point of view. So my able host, I'm going to be handing over this baton over to you, unless there's some question.
Felix, sorry, I don't know if you don't, I mean, if you don't mind, I'd like to say something, please.
Quite.
Okay, thank you. As much as we understand that we've talked about a critical point, and that's displaying of LEDs, I also don't want us to take away the, leave this meeting thinking that that is the only problem we have in the industry, or that is the only non-compliant or irresponsible marketing that we have. So that
I think that's what regulation, that is the point that regulation seemed to have flagged up, but I'm sure it's not exhaustive.
Apart from the LED, we also have the social media aspect of it, where people now go, they will leave the conventional advertising and now rush to the social media. It's also a challenge for us. Because by the time you see a commercial there, before you record, it's off. Except we're able to capture the advertiser and deal directly with the advertiser. We don't know who placed it. The advertiser will tell you they are not the ones. The agency will say they are not the ones. So we have this issue of understanding exactly who is in charge of placement on social media.
I know that the scope of this conversation is out of home.
Exactly.
And so I've kind of left it in that space. Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you want to get into digitalizing,
what I was only trying to say.
I read it when you said that was not the only problem we have.
Oh, yes,
sorry.
Mrs. Iyoha. What I was also trying to say is that it's important that we don't get all engrossed in that space and forget the salient, because on this, I know that people that are represented here are varied across the different stakeholders that we have in the industry. And I think that what is important for us to leave this meeting with is, what does responsible marketing mean to us in our sphere? Now, whether I'm an advertiser or I'm working in an agency or I'm the media owner or I'm the regulatory body, what does it mean to me? And how can I make it better, basically? If I am shaping the environment, I'm shaping cultures, what am I deliberately doing to ensure that whatever I do speaks to that, and that's what I wanted us to live with, because so I don't want us to, yes, we know that is a challenge. And, Adenike has said from the advertiser's point of view that they're coming to party to say, how do we make it better? We've said as from the agency's point of view to say that we're consciously looking out for it and trying to make it better. We also think that overall, responsible marketing means that whatever we do in passing our message or in doing whatever, we're ensuring that it is fair across board. And when I say fair, it is ethical, it is sustainable, it is respectful, and that cuts across everybody, even to the media owners.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well understood.
Thank you so much. For a minute, I enjoyed that talking across all parties. I think I understand Mrs. Ijedi's frustration. You've got a digital age and you might have an analog regulation leg, so I'm sure they're also struggling in that regard, and it's fine to have heard it here. We're part of the larger advertising community, and we should be able to understand some of the problems that APCON seems to be facing, even if it doesn't concern out of home. So it's a good one. I don't know if you have any questions.
We have a question from Mr. Jeremiah. Okay.
Please.
Mr. Jeremiah, can you ask directly? Turn on your mic, please, so you can ask directly.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's been an insightful session so far. My question is I want to know from the point of view of the client, what clients can do. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, please, Jeremiah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm asking, what internal checks do clients, do brands put in check internally? From their own point of view, as concerning ethics, when it comes to exposure, when it comes to marketing, particularly exposure. What internal checks do they put in place to ensure that, look, aside from APCON, we are not flouting ethics, something like that. I don't know if I'm clear. Hello?
Yeah, you want to know if the client side, the advertiser, has an added layer of or protocols sort of to ensure that the brands remain responsible. And this question, I guess, will be for Mrs. Adebola.
Yes, a sort of internal check. Yes, something like that.
All right.
Okay. Like I said earlier on, we, for instance, in Guinness, Nigeria, we have something we call the Digital Marketing Code. Sorry, a Diageo Marketing Code, bear with me. And what we look at runs from everything, all the way from, is it tasteful? Is it socially acceptable? Are we overclaiming? Is there, we communicating in such a way that's appealing to underage drinkers, or ensuring that you don't present alcohol as a must-have, that abstinence is a bad thing, to kind of like irrational behavior around alcohol in terms of overuse. So there are multiple themes. So we've got a lot of internal governance around ensuring that our advertising is self-regulated, responsible, and builds a better society. So it's for us in Guinness, Nigeria, because we do not take lightly the responsibility that we have. with our advertising, and also because we sell brands that are targeted only to adults. So in terms of the content, what we say, how we say it, and how we present alcohol, so people have the decency of understanding how to use alcohol as well as when not to, and it's okay not to want to take alcohol. So I think it's a guiding principle actually for our marketing, something that we take very, very we don't take lightly. We don't only constantly train the people who work inside of our organization, we also train our agencies regularly on our marketing code. Nothing goes out without going through that checklist of about 10 items. And if you are a no on any one of them, that work won't go out. And it's not, and that's not only Guinness Nigeria. I know that a lot of our other partners do the same. Don't know if that answers your question, but we do have quite a lot of internal self-regulatory items that standards that we uphold for our advertising. And more recently, I was talking to you earlier on about being inclusive and being more respectful of gender and other social stereotypes, and we are also leading the way in this area. So we've signed up to a tool that tests the work that we're putting out to validate that it is inclusive and it is balanced. We are spending money behind platforms that are more inclusive. We are training our agencies. We are ensuring that the work that we create is made by balanced crews of both male and female. So for us, this whole question of responsibility with our advertising and our voice is a way of life, and we're always pushing the envelope, looking for new ways to lead the way beyond the normal kind of tasteful human aspects to even the more complex technical areas that I've discussed earlier.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if I'm at
this is Adebola. Thank you. Jeremiah, did we deliver on that?
I mean, she did really great, and I'm grateful to her for.
All right. Thank you so much. I just wanted to validate. Please indulge me. There are more questions coming in, and I'm beginning to see an extension of our time here. I'd like to bring something to the table of the agency here, because we're talking location earlier on, and one of the questions one of the discussants is one of our guests is asking is, with Boss Branding, that Boss Branding is a platform that crosses multiple locations. That would it be responsible advertising to leverage Boss Branding for alcoholic beverage? Yetunde, this is yours. I can't find anybody else for this.
Yeah, that's fine, Felix. And it's interesting, maybe because Adenike works with an alcoholic beverage, this conversation is really tilted towards that. Because out of home in itself,
I'm sorry, I hope Mr. Adebola doesn't feel any way about this.
Out of home in itself is not brand specific, is not decided, is not specific to any kind of class, whether it's the FMCGs, the alcoholic beverages. I mean, you can use it for anything, basically, literally. And like I clearly mentioned, what Mrs. Iyoha was talking about was pouring shots. And when I say pouring shots, maybe I should go into what it means, like showing an alcoholic beverage, you're showing a Budweiser, where that is being poured into a glass and you're taking it and you're relishing it. That is what she's talking about. And that is what they don't want to see on the out of home space, on the digital space. Now, they don't have a challenge with saying you have a static site that is displaying your creative, you know, I mean, you've got the Budweiser, what's it called now? the bottle standing with whatever messaging you're putting in there. Now, the last I checked, boss branding on the outside are static. So it means that whatever you can use a static site to do, to deliver, you can as well use BRT buses to deliver them. Albeit their transit medium, which means that it also allows the brand to be able to move across destinations and to be able to address their audience. I clearly mentioned when I was making my remark to say that that industry is very regulated. As regulated as to stipulate what time you can start on radio, you can start on TV. Now, the only means that is a bit flexible are the static sites. So that is where you also find, and you also need to understand that before a client decides or an agency decides to use a particular medium for a campaign, it means that they must have gone through the process of identifying where the audiences are, how to speak to them when you're speaking to them. So just to also lay credence to what I've said, APCON has not said don't use out of home for alcoholic beverages. What they have only said is don't show pouring shots in your creative. So BRT buses are static, and so they can be used.
All right, there we go. I think you did justice to that. What is very clear is that we're going to continue this conversation about what is responsible and at what point we become irresponsible, and for a very creatively driven industry, pushing the boundaries. Yeah. So in coming through with that feedback, I totally got that dimensioning between pouring shots and static, and that came across quite to me. So it does mean that you can use the busting for alcoholic privilege, certainly. Yeah. So guys, please keep it coming. You're the ones who make this exciting. But it does appear that we're all clicked into this weekend mode and I can't get any more coming.
There's someone
it might be time to, all right, please. Host, can we give Keno the floor?
Yes, Keno can go ahead.
All right, good evening, everybody. I just wanted to also give, just to add a little to what Ms. Adenike had already mentioned regarding the question on that was asked earlier concerning what advertisers are doing, to ensure that responsible marketing. From our own experience, I've worked with clients, with a particular client that takes it quite responsibly. I'm not going to, for the sake of avoiding what has already been said, I'm just trying to keep it very brief, right? But I've worked with an advertiser that has done extremely well in that part. As a matter of fact, what they do is so they have a responsible marketing playbook of which it is updated every year across all their brands, right? And they send this to each and every agency that works with them. So, and this is not just only for, media independents, we're talking creative, we're talking across all their partner agencies that work with them. As far as the specifications for the kind of characters that they can use, as far as
on my class, on my desk. Actually belongs
I know you gotta put your
worksheet for him and then I drop it to his desk. There's a piece
Hi, Mrs. Anu Luapo, you've got to help us.
all right, can I go on?
Yeah, go on, Keno. Thanks.
All right, so I was saying that, they have, these responsible marketing specifications, even as far as the characters that they use in their advertising, and this is not an alcoholic brand, right? As far as the age grade of people is as bad as, because for them, they say 12 and above, right? You don't advertise to age 12 below. So even if you have an adult that looks young, they don't even, they don't use. So they have all these specifications already put in place. And each year they conduct trainings for each and every of their agency. beyond the trainings, you're also meant to sign an undertaking that you understand the extent, and the full import of their, responsible marketing guidelines. So I know some brands actually take it pretty seriously. Ms. Adenike was making mention of, inclusivity and all of that. So there are brands that take this seriously. There are brands that go for physical inspection of the sites that you have mentioned or recommended to them, right? They don't just take your word for it. There are brands that don't use certain type of characters within certain regions, right? And all of that. I'm just really to give, more detail around, what Mr. Adenike had said. And these are some of the things I know advertisers can do. And in cases where, these advertisers don't, for sake of the fact that maybe they are new or they are young or inexperienced, I think it's our responsibilities as, as the consultants, like I always say we are, right, to advise and recommend to them, what, responsible marketing is all about as regards, especially, within the context of what we're talking about, which is out of home. Thank you.
Keno, just a minute while you're still on. Keno, let me ask you, do you think, as a advertising practitioner, do you think we have a duty to create a responsible marketing environment? Hello?
Truth is, yes, we do have, that responsibility.
Yeah.
By law, the oath that you took, bounds you by,
all right. So
by it in the first
instance. Do you think that this is a responsibility that's being, do you think that this is a responsibility that we are actively carrying out?
So here's the thing, in my own opinion, and I mean, everybody's
as a community.
Yes, in my own opinion, I think while some people are, are after it, they are wholly about it, there are still those that, try to, quote unquote, find the corners in which they can get away with things, right? Some do it on purpose, some do it just to please their clients, right? And this is not me trying to train a client under the bus, but there are clients that do not understand, do not fully understand, responsible marketing, right? Responsible marketing is not just only like what we've discussed throughout in terms of alcohol pouring consumption and all of that. There are a whole host of other things that, that come with responsible marketing. I'll give you one for example. Okay, but well, you get my point. So yeah, so you get my point. So the point is some people do not even know what responsible marketing is to a very large extent. It is the top line, quote unquote, responsible marketing guidelines that they know, but there's a whole lot deeper issues when it comes to responsible marketing. Like for example, me myself, the first time I never thought about.
Yeah, so Keno, we've got to take the time. You made your point. I mean, the reason I asked you was you offered some comments, and believe me, those comments are very valid, and we do totally appreciate you. Someone had actually asked us to ask the APCON person what they were doing about a particular alcoholic beverage that is displaying near somewhere in Ikeja by the teaching hospital. And I thought that the advertising community would have seen that and they haven't made a case for it. So I am asking us as a community if we also have the duty to each other, because we've spoken about how advertising shapes culture and all of that, and we are beginning to get clear. So maybe we need to talk about this some more, or maybe we also need to increase a certain level of advocacy as far as responsibility is concerned. My host, can we give Chinonso Atuebu a moment?
Yes.
His hands have been up.
Yes,
for the most of the last 5 minutes. So please, Chinonso, can you unmute your mic and take the stand?
Yeah, thank you very much, Felix. Good evening, everyone. So I'll just pick up from your last conversation about a billboard displaying just close to the General Hospital. So the question I want to raise is, I know there are a couple of laws but the big question to APCON would be how much of sensitization has been done about these laws? How many people know about these laws? So the question I'm throwing to APCON is, what are we doing about publicizing or kind of bringing these laws to the table so that people will know? Because it might be just out of ignorance that someone does not know that an alcoholic beverage should not be beside a hospital, a place of worship, a school. So the question is, how much of effort are we putting as APCON behind making these laws, driving home these laws per se? That's one question for APCON. Then the second one is also to APCON, going to APCON, is the kind of, I would say, disregard of some regulations. I will give an example of Port Harcourt for argument's sake. If you go to Port Harcourt, billboards are 10 meters away from each other. Some billboards even touch each other in Port Harcourt, as it were big, at least the last time I was in Port Harcourt. What is APCON doing per se? Because I know by law that the billboard should not be 100 meters close to another one, but that's not being implemented at the moment. So what is APCON doing about that? Then my last question would be to Yetunde. So as a very young planner, a couple of years back, I ran into a problem. I think maybe if Adenike is on this call.
All right. I'm sure that was an error. You were finishing.
Yeah, so I received a letter from the Muslim community in Edo State that I had put a billboard carrying Guinness just right inside a prayer ground. And it was a function of description. I went back to the site proposal I received, and that site proposal didn't say anything about that billboard sitting right inside a prayer ground. And I handed the material over to the media owner, and the media owner posted that alcoholic brand inside the prayer ground. So now there are two things. One, the media owner may not have known that it's against the law. And secondly, to Yetunde, do you think more site visits, so to say, versus desktop planning in out of home, like the planning side now, will help curtail some of these conversations that we see happening every now and then? Thank you.
Can we take the APCON person first? I don't know, Mr. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, there's been quite a bit. I mean, I know what the law says. This is ignorance of the law is not excuse. But we are a marketing communication people. And you know that in communication, feedback is important. So two things can happen. The reason why people continue to flout some of these responsibility lines might be because they do not know sufficiently. So the last gentleman wanted to know two things. Is APCON doing anything about continuing education so that people will know even more? And is APCON sanctioned, severely, that is sufficient deterrence?
Okay. Yeah, I want to say that for every exposure of irresponsible marketing or advertising, the advertiser, the agency, and the media are liable. Because you can't just wake up and go and erect a billboard and put up an advert on it. You must be an advertising practitioner. You must have taken the oath of practice. So you are not ignorant of the law. Placement of advertisement is not for everybody. It's for advertising practitioners and for those practicing advertising. So they quite understand what the law says about placement of any adverts, especially on outdoor. If talking about sensitization, APCON is not just that. I think we've been in operation for over 30 years now, and there've been lots of sensitization. We've had so many stakeholders meeting, and we are still having. We've organized series of training programs, and we are still organizing them. So for those people that are exposed in front of the hospital, they are not ignorant of the law. And immediately he said it, I had to call the monitoring officer to please go there and check. Probably is of recent. Probably the monitoring officers did not go there and do their duties, so that I can take it up with them. It's unfortunate that things like this are happening when we have registered practitioners that are supposed to know the right thing to do. So advertising is not for everybody. So for those practitioners that are involved, by the time we look at the materials and see that they violated any aspect of the code, we will take it up with them. Then he talked about what APCON is doing about the billboards clustering in Port Harcourt. In Port Harcourt and some of the states, we actually have issues with the local signage people. We approve content. We don't give billboards. It's only the content, the message you are exposing to the public that we're interested in. That we're interested in. So for the signage agencies there, they're the ones responsible for giving out sites for outdoors. But now that has been mentioned, I'll still reach out to our zonal officers in Port Harcourt so they could take it up with the signage people over there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Iyoha, for staying with us. So, Yetunde, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Please, I mean, the question before you is desktop versus, I mean, I can't remember how Donso put it, you know, but yeah, he thinks, it says desktop versus, you know, increased site visitation. What kind of balance do we need, you know, to be able to do our job better, even as agency people?
Okay, I'll start, but I'll take it off from where Mrs. Iyoha stopped, and that's where she mentioned that ignorance in this case cannot be accepted, and it's very clear. For you to be able to hold a billboard, the regulation states that you must be a registered APCON member, and when you're taking your oath, the basic things that you get, like your handbook, you know, that this is clearly stipulated. So the laws are there. And I'm even sure that, I mean, if Nonso would remember that part of when you're making a plan, you know, as a media planner, there are things that you put into consideration. And I know that you just don't take these pictures from the media owner. You would have conversations. Sometimes you have conversations around it. So 2 things, and that is where ethics comes in. 2 things could have happened. It would be a case of the media owner understands that you're buying for an alcoholic beverage and deliberately changed, and that's why I say that all stakeholders have to understand what responsible marketing means to us as individuals and deal with it as such. So it could be a case of the media owner change the nomenclature or change the naming of the site and carefully took out that part. I'll give you an example. If the same media owner wanted to sell the same board to a dairy brand and it's Ramadan period, do you think that that vital information that was missing out will be put into that description? It will be there, because at that point it becomes a selling point. So it's easy for us to come to the party to say, okay, this is what it means for an advertiser. This is what it means. It's for us to be able to say that for as long as we want this industry to grow, what does responsible marketing means across board. Now, trust me, I mean, how many, currently there are over 40,000 sites standing in Nigeria as we speak. So yes, I am not an advocate to desktop planning, but I'm also saying that at the end of the day, responsibility still lies on each party to do the right thing. Because even if you do the plan, you most likely visit all the sites. If you were a planner as we speak today, and I have to buy a site in Maiduguri or a place where there's unrest, I most likely won't say to you that I need you to visit that location to be able to identify sites. So one of the things that is also important is, as agencies, as clients, is also speak to every third party that we have in executing our processes. It means that they're able to understand what we stand for, they understand what our processes are, they understand what we mean when we make inquiries and why we do these things. So everybody's on the same page, and all hands on deck, then we can make it better.
Yetunde, you speak so much knowledge. I'm totally excited. You just simply said to us that so you can't have media partners without a certain level of immersion. So media owners need to have a buy-in into what the brand and the agency stand for, And of course, self-regulation is so key. Self-regulation and full disclosure is so important. You can't blame the agency all the time. Things like this come up. Thank you so much. I've got two other people who want to talk very quickly.
I think Mr. Yinka raised his hand first, but I don't know if he's still.
Can we take Yinka Akitayo right now, and then we will talk to Rui Ohani afterwards.
Thank you very much. Good evening once again, everyone. Candidly speaking, Yetunde had expressed fully my position on what responsive marketing is all about. It goes beyond the client only having a Bible of what to be displayed, what character to use, what kind of model to use, but it's across the value chain of media advertising. And when you say media advertising, of course, there's no way you leave out the platform owner, the outdoor owners, the regulatory bodies, the agency, and the client. So Yetunde has really expressed my position on that. I think one vital thing that is missing is information, is education, is sensitization. And I must give it to the faculty of the boardroom for thinking in this light by bringing today's topic, which for me is very critical, and more importantly, creating a platform like this where newcomers or even those of us who we feel we are old in the industry have an opportunity to learn and unlearn. Education is very important. Yetunde has spoken about instances where outdoor owners will deliberately or ignorantly miss out vital information about the board. What we do when I'm sending out a brief to my media suppliers, if I know it's an alcoholic-based brand, I will put it there, beer, and I'll state areas that must be avoided. But what do you get to see? Like Yetunde said, when media suppliers send in their details, and let's be factual with ourselves, there's no way you have full knowledge of everywhere in the country. And also the space of development that is going on. A location that we've known for like 5 years that didn't have school before. School could spring up within that location within a week. Same thing with religious houses that we know. So we rely on the media owners for them to even know the visibility and the vicinity of their site more than any other person, and be able to be sincere enough to say, no, this site, even though you really want it, but it doesn't fit this your brand, can I give you another one? And we've had instances where some outdoor supply partners have come out to say that even when they are development, we've been on the site for like 6 months, and I think suddenly one of the Pentecostal churches just bought a shop nearby and they built a church. And the media partner wrote to us to say they have to relocate. We have no choice than to instantly relocate that, but if I would go down the material while we sought alternatives. So I think it's all encompassing. And platform like this, we really go a long way. And when encourage outdoor owners, or let me say outdoor participants.
All right, Yinka. I mean, I think you've made the point. We'll pass your message on to the boardroom. Boardroom is getting a lot of kudos. Can we bring Rui Ohani on board very quickly?
Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Madam, shoot.
Okay. First and foremost, the reason why we are having these issues is because as individuals, some people don't have values. They are not guided by certain values in the industry. Because I believe to be responsible, you should have a value. As a media owner, you should have a value. Responsibility starts from being, from getting the site in the first place, surveying your environment. But most times you find some media owners, because they lack values as individuals, they don't care what would happen. They'll go ahead, do the site just by defense of an hospital, and what you see on the board is an alcohol. For me, I think in the case of Chinonso saying is desktop versus physical siting. Well, I would encourage agencies too. I have 2 points for agencies that buy on behalf of advertisers. I think you need to know your vendors very well, not based on the hoardings they have, but as individuals. What is their culture in their firms? What are their values? What is their lifestyle? These are things that even banks look at before they give people money. They give people facilities. I think the agencies need to get to that.
Yes. You've got to have a pointed question, or you've got to make your comment very quickly.
Okay, so my point is that I think I would also plead with the organizers of this platform to still bring up this, maybe segment this topic because it's broad.
All right. So part 2, we'll talk to the hosts. They'll put up with a part 2. Rui, you made your point about how personal values transcends, to the kind of aberrations we have. Thank you so much for lending your voice to this conversation. So you can take the floor one more time, please. I think we've already spent quite a bit, and we should be coming to a close very, very soon. My discussant, thanks for staying with us. Yetunde, thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Iyoha. We will bring this to a close quickly. Please, you can take the floor. No, so let's run.
Thank you very much, Felix. So quickly, since we are talking about responsible marketing and advertising, so I've noticed the trend over the years, which has even gotten worse till date, where clients or agency planners intend to probably encroach competition space. I'll give an example. So if we have 2 CSD brands, what the other agency will be doing, instead of going for reach, going for a third mainland bridge, they will rather go straight into the street corner leading to the other client's office to place a billboard. So that I see that as more of would I say cannibalization? Is that even a good word to use for it? I think it's even a fair word. I think it's dirty play. It's going on currently. And what has happened is that most brands are now forced to buy hoardings that are close to them so that competition will not get on them. If you go to Nigeria, where Nigerian Breweries is, for example, you see them taking over virtually all the billboards. And I think media owners are beginning to take advantage of this to identify opportunities close to clients' office, plant billboards there and go to the clients who say competition is coming on this billboard. I feel that is irresponsible. I don't know if Yetunde has any reaction to this, as to this trend, because the trend I've seen for the past 7 years and it's getting even worse at the moment. So Yetunde, any take to this?
Thank you so much for pointing Yetunde to it. Although I hear strategy here, but Yetunde is the expert on this matter, and I have faith that she will deal justice to it. Yetunde, please oblige us one more time.
Yes. I mean, is it a trend? Yes. Is there something that can be done about it? That's a tricky question, really. And I'm being as honest as I can be with you. Because at the end of the day, every brand wants to be territorial. Every brand wants to acknowledge the fact that I'm in this space. I mean, when you think of Igomu, you most likely will think about a particular brand. You know, when you think of, towards Ogba, you have a brand in mind. So that's territory. They've marked their territory. Now, whether clients would deliberately want to speak to that audience, because at this point, it's so much about saying, I am coming to your space and I am there and you have to see me. That's what it is. It's a lot about, I don't want to use the word ego because it's not about ego, it's about establishing presence even in your territory, and it's making a statement. So whether we're going to have this, because there's really no law, and that's to be as honest as possible, there's really no law stopping these things. That is where it comes to personal beliefs and where responsible marketing still comes to play. Now, as a brand, what do you do? But as an agency, what would be your position? Are you advising your clients? Which is why we also think that it's important as an agency to be proactive in suggestions to your clients. If you notice that, I mean, a lot of these brand owners or media owners will come to you when they have plans or they're putting up structures. How proactive are you in engaging your clients to say, this is coming up, how relevant is it to us? And at the end of the day, as a brand, you have to be able to understand and define, choose your battles. Now, the fact that there's a billboard next to you, as long as you don't think that it rubs off on you, on your ego, you can as well allow it. But if you think it's real, then you have to be proactive in seeking and securing the brand. I'm not sure at this point anything can be done other than speaking to each other's, if there's any, the word is, it's not goodwill basically. So speaking into each other's conscience and say, don't come to my territory. But really, there's nothing anybody can do about it.
All right, thank you so much for being very straightforward with that, Yetunde. We've got one last response. Tayabade, forgive me if I get your name spelled wrongly, but you can take the floor. My host, can you yeah, please.
All right, my name is Tokbe Anyobade, basically. All
right.
Mine is of a reaction, right, to the question Chinonso had asked. So basically, I think ambush marketing basically is like a global, marketing practice where one advertiser, try to leverage a particular platform or an opportunity that already been sponsored or being leveraged by a particular brand before. So, and it's something that we cannot change. It's a marketing practice, and like Yetunde rightly said, every brand wants to create, they have a territory that they want to protect, and they want to be seen as the bold brand, that's occupying this particular place. So everywhere in the world, you cannot change, what marketing trend, comes up at which time or not. But what we can do as practitioners is, what is the main objective of your brand? Is it to protect the territory or to gain the market share? So it's now left to the brand owners, to brief you properly. If they want you to ambush the other brand, I don't think it's, if that's what they want to do, I don't think it's a practice that we as practitioners can kick against, basically.
Yeah, you made the point. Like I insinuated before, my take is that it sounds like strategy. So it's a strategy for the brand for the hour. I think we spent a good portion of today, and we've done quite a bit for this. I can't see any more hands. At this juncture, I'm going to be calling on the host to take on this show.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Felix. Thank you, everyone, the discussant. Thank you, everyone, for making it a wonderful session. Like you said, rightly said, this conversation is very, very, very broad. And I think it's deeper than just what we currently see it right now. Like there's a point that was raised there. They said that most people who are new and who doesn't even know the laws and some of the ethics they're supposed to, that's guiding the whole work, especially in the out-of-home space. So I think, as Mr. Adenike rightly said, is a conversation we need to take up and progress this to the next level, so that people who don't even understand or know what are the rules and some of the regulations guiding some of our actions in advertising space, those persons will be able to begin to learn some of these things and have the marketing code out there. So we're going to come back to you guys with a second part of this first marketing conversation. Okay, thank you for tuning in. And without wasting time, I want to quickly remind you that we have our next program coming up soon next month. That is the Location Intelligence Workshop. It's a paid training and it's coming up by 31st of March next month. That's next month, and it's going to be on how to exploit Google Maps for better decision making in your strategy and planning. So, and like I say, media planning and buying is going mainstream gradually. What it means is that you as a media owner, you need to understand how to unlock the values of your location. You need to understand how to make a meaning and tell story around your audience and your billboard and other audience you have. So by implication, what we're saying is that you need to know that there's some free platforms out there, such as Google Maps, that's be able to do a lot of analysis, that will be able to justify the reason for a client to choose a particular site over another. So this training is coming up next month. That's the 1st of March. I will be communicating very soon on the details and the price for it, and reaching out to the people who are going to support in this project. Just be ready for it, because it's going to help everybody in the industry, because the essence of this whole academic session is to make sure that we build knowledgeable practitioners in out-of-home battering space. Thank you for joining this time around. I want to appreciate the discussant, Mr. Felix, for moderating this event. Mrs. Adenike for taking out of our time to join, and Mrs. Ijedi for being in the hospital and joining from the hospital ground, and our agency person, Mr. Yetunde, for doing this for us. And I want to appreciate all the people who contributed, asking questions and making contributions, and it's a successful one. I want to thank you once more. I said, have a lovely weekend as we wrap it up here, and see you next month, which is 18th, where we're going to take the next session of the boardroom. We'll communicate to you the details, and we'll take it off from there. Have a lovely weekend, and see you in the next session. Goodbye.